What's going on, everybody? Cody from Motorcycle MD. In this video, we'll be lowering a 2022 CBR650F ABS model. We will be focusing specifically on the rear end lowering of the bike. Drops about 2 inches from a product from T-Rex. I've used them before, but when it comes to the ABS models, it's a little bit trickier because there's some things that are kind of thrown in the way that we got to deal with. Next video, we'll be lowering the front end of the bike, which is a little bit more complicated, as well as installing an adjustable kickstand, which is what you need when you lower bikes this low. Otherwise, pretty straightforward video. Again, we run into a few things that we got to solve, so let's get into it. One thing I like to do before I start tearing things apart is just get 2 stationary measurements, one in the rear, one in the front. When we squat this bike down, I want to make sure that the front kind of matches how the height differences were before. I think this kind of helps with the handling of the bike once we're all dropped down. So first thing we need to do is get this thing supported because we need to take pressure off of this lower mounting bolt that actually goes straight to the swing arm on these bikes. It's not like a typical linkage suspension down here at the bottom. It's just different. We have to access the bolt through these holes. We might need to do a little bit of modification to the rear fender. I can't remember on these, but we might need to. We'll try to make it as discreet as possible. Let's go ahead and try to get the load off of this bolt here at the back of the suspension. There is like a metal plate here that I'm not used to seeing, but I'm going to remove. I just don't know what this plate is. I don't know if that's stock or not, but I just don't want to bend it. I want to get right up here on this frame piece. Be careful of the O2. I don't know how much pressure it's going to take. Alright, that's complete pressure off the rear tire. So I'll put a little bit back on there. Let's go ahead and get this chain guard off. We have to access a bolt, a through bolt, and this is in the way. With this ABS model, there is some stuff going on. We got some wires going through a little metal plate back here. The fender's loose on this side. We have a bracket here. We have some wiring for the ABS right running alongside of it. I did do an ABS model before, and it seemed like there was a little bit of trouble with it, so hopefully we don't run into anything weird. Let's go ahead and grab this third bolt right here. Yeah, let's take this bracket loose as well. All we're really doing is just changing where this mounts at. We're going to try to lower this down here, which brings it closer to the rear tire, but it moves this lower point into a more backward position, which allows the whole thing to kind of squat. Right, here's our ABS stuff. Here's a post that fender was sitting on as well. Keep that in mind. Here's our bolt for it. It's a through bolt, so we have to hold on to it from going through the swing arm. That bolt is free in there right now, which is cool. So we'll go to the other side, probably a long Allen, and hold it. This is a long Allen that I need to get to that thing. Don't need quite this long. You could probably do with half, but see how loose that bolt is right now. That's what we want. We just happen to put the pressure in the right spot. If it was still tight, we would just raise and lower this thing until, you know, there's not a lot of pressure on that bolt, so we're not fighting it. We can push or pull this bolt out with a magnet. We have the bike supported. It's strapped down up front. We are disconnecting the rear shock from the swing arm. The swing arm is supported by the tire, so we're in a safe position. Now, we have a floating shock, which is great. Here's our new parts. Nice, bulky, probably billet. T-Rex, not sponsored by these people at all. I've just used their products before, and my buddy here with the bike was able to find the one for his 2022 model, which wasn't out right away, but now it is. We do have a few destructions here. Looks like the stock bolt's going to go through the bottom, very self-explanatory. I think it's going to be like this. The shock will sit in here. This will go through the swing arm. It says right here, note, you will need to trim the fender slightly to create some clearance for the link. Okay, so that's what I thought. Alright, let's see if we can't hook this thing up. Looks like this is going to come up here. We got some guide bushings. We're going to have to lower the bike back down, obviously. I imagine that this will retain the guides. Alright, it will. Sweet. Move this up out of the way. Grab our stock bolt. Let's get this lined up. Push that through. That bolt is on. Alright, let's go ahead and add our guides back on here. Lower the bike down. Okay, so I can already see what we're going to run into with the ABS, because this bolt has to go through and it's going to impact right there at that brake line. That's what I thought. It's always modification, man. There's always something. If you are new to the channel, welcome. We do videos on all different types of stuff when it comes to motorcycles. As a professional Honda technician, I tend to see a few things that I want to share with you guys with, and if you are into that sort of thing, like working on your own bike and saving money, this channel might be right up your alley. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel if that's something that you're into. And also, before you go, in the description there is a 30-plus course that I kind of built around basic fundamental things that you should know about bike ownership and working on it. It's helped out thousands of people. Feel free to pick that up before you head out of the channel. Otherwise, let's get right back into it. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but there is our metal bracket right here that interferes with the bolt. Always something, always something. I don't know if on the non-ABS models it clears it or there isn't an extra bracket here. I don't know. I would think that there still would be. Do they mention it in the instructions? You'll need to trim the rear fender slightly. It says nothing about it. All it says is rear fender. It's got a long way to go. Even if I just use this head, like if I come through this side, if I take this off, move the bracketry out of the way, the head of the bolt is, you know, that's a decent size head. It's gonna stick out. Okay, so what can we do? We can trim the bracket, but the head of the bolt is gonna be pressing on that brake line. Let's install this rear fender and think a little bit. I either have to leave something loose, like the brake bracket here or something, to move it around. There is some room for this whole bracket right here to be kind of bent forward. And we can move, like, we can bend this line as long as we're not like making a right angle with this brake line. Brake lines are bendable, that's why they're custom. But obviously you don't want to do a lot, as minimal as possible. And we can lift it off a ½ inch, bend this bracket down some. I was thinking about maybe putting this piece on the outside of this, but I think it's just going to be way too far forward and way too much bending of that line. But we got to take some off this fender for sure. But taking this line here, bolting it up right here, and then kind of manipulating it towards us. They should come with a new bracket with this thing or something for these ABS models, or with just any model, and they don't even talk about it in the freaking description. Like, we can bend this thing up like that, and that gets us way out of the way. That's probably the safest thing to do. It's lifted off of the swing arm here, you know, but the bolt is not going to be rubbing through a brake line, which is great. I'm going to say we start the bend probably like here. But I could cut this with my sheet metal cutter, but let's just go for it. Just a little bit right there. Let's see what that does. We gotta sit this right back on top of there where it belongs. This is gonna bolt right back here, nice and safe. Let's just throw a bolt in here right now. And I don't know, it's hard to tell. Let's get this up, get this guy through there. Like that. Whew, it's right up on that thing, man. There ain't no way this bracket's gonna sit in there. Ain't no way. We're gonna have to cut some off. No, I just don't like it. I just don't freaking like it. What if we space this out? What if we got a longer bolt here? We don't need too much longer. So let's bend this thing back down. Something like that. That moves it way out of the way. We can bend this back down a little bit. And now that it's not touching the bolt at all. Oh, this whole bracket moves? Come on. And the whole brake line bracket moves with it. Okay, that's annoying. It's not touching it anymore, though. That's going to be the best bet right there. It's the cleanest looking way to do it. Yeah, we're going to have to just cut this bracket. It's the way that it is. It's going to look goofy if I just keep bending on it. If we were to follow the manufacturer instructions, that's the swing arm right there. They don't even show the bracket here. They don't show the brake line, they don't show, it looks like it's right there, it's riding around the back. So maybe the non-ABS model or an older model did not route them like that. Maybe it's a soft line, which is fine, which would be super awesome for us, but the ABS model is different. So they have it mounted on this side, just like we do. So we're going to torque this down without it being mounted into the swing arm because we can't get to this Allen. You know, but all your torque should be applied on nut side anyways, but still, manufacturer instructions It's always a little off, man. There's always something. So let's pull this bolt back out, and we're going to torque this stuff down to stock manufacturer specifications, both of them, because they're both kind of acting like the same bolt now. So now we can lift this thing up and get our torque spec on it. All right, install our washer, a little medium grade Loctite. Let's go ahead and just zip this on real quick so we can just hold it in place. We got 32 foot-pounds, 44 Newton meters. There we go, 44, it's a spec. Let's send our through bolt back through. Get our Allen on this side prepared. That's actually not, I mean, it's not an excessive amount. I thought it would be like a lot hanging off, which would look really dumb, but that doesn't look too bad at all. Throw some more Loctite on our original bolt, right where the bolt's gonna sit. This is gonna get the same torque. Let's zip it on real quick for ease. Good to go. Both are locked down with Loctite. We no longer need to worry about that shock. We do need to get this bracket tree all fitted. Okay, so this is gonna live up under here like it did before. Let's go ahead and get our bracket ready as well. Make sure we don't run into any more problems with it. Make sure you line your little cushions up for the ABS. Don't pinch those. ABS stuff is very expensive. Nothing is pinched. Okay, we're gonna loosen this up a little bit until we get everything else on. It's tied up against the bolt, but it's not touching it. See, before, this bracket here kind of helped to hold on to this ABS wire. Now that we've lifted it, it's not going to. I don't want to kink this all the way back down again because it's going to go right back up against that bolt. Let's get this guy back in. See if we can't get this thing started. Nice long bolt. This one's a little bit off right here, but I think we can manipulate it a little bit. I'm not worried about that coming out. That's awesome. Okay, so this one right here, oh, it's lots of flex. We're good. Lots of flex. We can pull some slack out to get this where we want, and we're just going to loosely zip tie this on there. Hide the zip tie by pushing it to the back so it looks better. Beautiful. This one I like. I mean, that's not going anywhere. That can just sit and float right there. As long as it's not going to be dragged up underneath here or something weird happen, you know. Weird stuff happens, but that's good. It looks like it's supposed to be there. You can barely see that one. It's come off a little bit, but you won't even see it. There's a lot of stuff that we do for stuff like this that the customer would never know, you know, but my buddy here, he'll know, you know, this bolt's no longer black. And he may not like that, but if I never said anything, no one would know. But it's just kind of the way that things go when you do these type of jobs. You just gotta manipulate it, make it look good, as if it was your own bike. This bracket's touching right up against the bolt, which I like. It's kind of holding it off these cables, but it still lines up both here, and we spaced it out here with a little gold accent, which I think kind of matches the bronze on the motor, you know? So you just do the best that you can and not just do a hack job. So now we gotta do a hack job and take this fender out. Kind of hard to make it look perfect, and you know, where the hell do you even begin? But I'm going to say, just by looking down at it, we can kind of eyeball. Oh, this bracket has to come out. You bastard. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that bracket. Okay. 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 I go through both of these brackets. What a bummer. Okay. We might just go without it. Let's see what it does without it. Because we got a bolt, we have a mounting bolt 3 inches from it right here. And this cutout on here will leave us clearance for this bracket to come out. I think we're just going to go without this bracket here. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. On the back side of this, there is this Phillips head screw. Let's just see what it does without it. Let's see if we like it. Alright, so my best advice is to just mark. Start small, end small. It's hard to tell where the bracket's going to live on this fender. I'm going to mark it, and we're going to start trimming it. It's about where I have it marked. I would say it's center, but it's not really. We're going to start probably right around this crease, and we'll just come up on this a little bit and see where we're at. And we might just need to come up a little more. Probably just use some snips right now to see where we're at. We're going to line our little block thing up over here. I don't think we're anywhere close. Otherwise, it looks okay, but we gotta make room for this bolt right here. I really doubt that will be enough, but let's find out. Let's put this bolt in over here. It's way off right now, but let's see where I don't know if it's just on that side or what. We're back in our little square. We got space for the bolt. Alright, so it's still hitting. Minor adjustments on the fender. Yeah, we gotta take a whole chunk out of this thing. Hey, y'all see that? It's all up on that thing right there. I'm gonna take that whole corner out probably. Alright, we'll just keep trial and error in this thing until I get it, and I'll show you guys the aftermath. Alright, so 30 minutes later, we are darn close. The bracket's off. The back side of this fender is touching on this bracket, so I found a spot where I can cut a little shelf for this to kind of sit more flat, but we are close. This is a lot of trimming, back and forth, bolted up, take it off, bolted up, take it off. But we're 2 hours into a 2.5 hour job, you know, so this is how it goes. All right, so the aftermath. We've got it to where there's little to no resistance when installing these and moving this to get the bolts in and whatnot. So what I had to do was just, I'm not sure how much I had to take off. This is gonna be, I mean, at the discretion of you. That was my first piece that I took off. I probably came up another ½ inch even. I cut a little notch and I kind of made a mark right where this stay part was. When I looked down through there, where that new bracket kind of sits up higher, I made a little shelf for that to kind of go up against it and for this to sit a little bit flusher. It's not perfectly flush, but it's not going anywhere. Brought this in and up and all the way around. I mean, you gotta manipulate it, but I want it to look clean. That's pretty much as clean as you can get. A nice sharp blade will help get any of those frayed parts off. Let's go ahead and bolt this all up. Make sure you get that notched part over here on this left hand side. Bring this bracket down. This whole fender has lots of room. It's not touching on anything back over there. Get this fender bolt in. This is now locked in place because of the bolt that's above it, where this bracket sits, and that can't go anywhere. There's a little cutout. You know, I wish it could be a little bit flatter, but because of the bracket that we had to move a little bit, it looks fine. It's not on any of the ABS wires. We gotta just be careful with those. So we can go ahead and lock all this stuff down. You can also see how we had to make a little bit of room for the wires down there to come up through. It's a little right angle, so nothing is being pinched on. That will do. So that'll wrap up lowering the rear end of this bike. Here's two quick pictures of a before and after. In the after shot, it also shows the front end lowered as well. So the stance is obviously way more dramatic in that picture, but we've definitely lowered this thing about exactly 2 inches, which is what the product says it will do. So that's always good. But be sure to tune in next week as we dive in a little bit further to lower this thing down the front end. As always, Cody from Motorcycle MD, bringing you guys some quality tips and tricks for your next build or your daily rider. See you around. Later.